welcome to this tutorial. In today's video I'm going to show you how to create an individual measurements file in Valentina. And to do that we need to open Valentina and then click the measurement tab and open tape. And then we click the new button, and then as I said, for this video I'm going to show you the individual measurements file, but you can actually choose between that and the standard. I'm going to choose this one. And then you can choose the unit. I'm working in centimeters, but millimeters and inches are also available. And then you just ignore these two because these are not relevant for the individual measurements file, and click OK. All right, so now you see, now we have two tabs here. One is measurements, which is basically this window, and we're going to be working with that in a bit. The other one is the information window, which is basically information about this file. So we can see here the type is individual measurements. This is the path if we had saved the file. We haven't yet, but otherwise you can see where it's saved. You can choose your pattern making system. I'm using the Aldrich Women, and I highly recommend actually choosing this pattern making system, not only because it makes it easier for you to, if you work with different kinds of pattern making systems, it's nice that you actually specify that in the file which one it is, but also in like the spirit of open source. If you want to share your patterns or your measurements file, it makes it easier for other people to know which system that you're using. And then of course you can type in customer's name, birth date, the gender, and email and notes and so forth if you want to do that. I'm going back here. Okay, so now we want to type in or add the measurements for this particular customer, and for that we need measurements. And I have made here a list for my customer. As I mentioned, I said I used the Aldrich pattern making system for women. So these are the measurements that corresponds to that pattern making system. You might be using a different pattern making system, and then these names or measurement might be entirely different. However, for the purpose of this video, we're going to be working with these numbers and names. So how do we get all of this information into the program? Well, there are two ways you can do that. Either you add known measurements or you can add custom. And we're going to choose the add known. And if I click this one, you can see here it brings up a dialog where we have a very, very, very long list of all sorts of different kinds of measurements and names for them. And the idea is actually just to filter through all of these lists and find the ones that you need. And I'm going to do that. For instance, I need my bust measurements, so I'm going into the circumference and arc measurements and finding bust. That looks about right. If you click the measurement, you can see a small visual opening up here, a small diagram, which makes it a little bit easier to choose the right name or the right measurement. And I'm going with the number 4, GO4. And I'm also going to use the neck size. That's that one, the waist, low waist, and the hips. And, I'm sure you pretty much get the idea by now. I'm just going to quickly choose all of these, the rest of all the measurements, and then come back. I'm going to speed up the video. All right, so now I've chosen all my measurements. I'm just going to click OK. And then this brings all of the measurements I just chose into a long list in the measurements window here. As you can see, they're now listed in the order that I chose them in the add known, and it's not the same order as I have over here. If it makes it easier for you to change the order of all the measurements here, you can actually move them up and down with these arrows. So for instance, bust is my first one, and I have waist, and low waist. And now it's just a matter of typing in your first measurement. I'm going to look over here in my file and say, okay, the bust measurements, it is 88. So I come down here, I first see the name, and that means it's the machine readable name. It's the one that is used in the formula in Valentina. And then you have the formula, and right now we're not going to use a formula, we're just going to use the measurement. So it's 88. And you can see here the full name is the human readable name. That's the one that's used in the list. It's what you can see most in Valentina. And it's a bit more descriptive. And right down here we also have a description for what the measurement is. And I'm just going to click the next one, the waist, that's 72. And then it's just a simple matter of typing in. Once again, I'm going to speed up the video a bit and type in all the rest of the measurements and then come back. So I typed in almost all of the measurements now, and I'm down here to the waist to floor. As you can see, there's already typed in a formula. And you can do that to any of the measurements if you want. So if you want, for instance, this measurement is made up from height, waist to front, minus the leg crotch to curve. I don't really have these two measurements. I have a specific number for the waist to floor measurement. So instead of using this calculation or this formula, I'm just going to type in the measurement. But you could do that, and you can do that for any of these measurements. So that gives you a bit of flexibility. All right, and then the last one here is waist to knee. That's 58.5. Okay, so that was all the measurements. Now, if you wanted maybe to add either a measurement you couldn't find in the list of known, or you just want your own naming thing, want your own way of naming things, you can add custom. And if you click that one, you see it shows up down here at the bottom. And all of these are empty. And then it's just a matter of filling in the information that you want. Let's say we wanted a measurement called, I don't know, extra. It's important that when you type in the machine readable name or the formula name, I recommend using lowercase letters and underscores if you want a space between the letters. Let's say 3 centimeters, and then let's call it extra length again, but in a more human readable, friendly way. Okay, and then you just click OK. Click anywhere. So you see, now it's here. A small note about the add known and add custom. I highly recommend that you use the known list of names. And that's, once again, in the spirit of open source program, because if you want to share your measurements file here and somebody else is going to use that for their pattern, it makes it much more shareable if everybody's using the same naming convention or the same names. Otherwise, you probably will have problems or will have to do a lot of editing to the measurements file if you add a lot of custom measurements. But it's a nice feature, and it's nice that it's there because it can prove necessary. Okay, but I'm just going to delete it for now. Okay, this button up here it's okay, it's quite useful. You can click it. It brings up this window, and if you click any of your measurements, if you're in doubt about what it is, you can see, oh, it's the wrist. It's that one. So if you're in doubt what your measurement is, high angle, okay, it's the one up there. Waist circumference, that's the number 7. That's the one. So it's just the same visual as you saw in the known, but it's nice if you want it, if you're ever in doubt. Okay, so that was basically how you typed in all the individual measurements in the individual measurements file. Let's save it. Valentina automatically saves your individual measurements file in the measurements folder. So we're going to do that. I'm going to name it this one. And save. Then you can close it down. Let's get this out of the way. Well, how to use the measurements file? Well, you once again back in Valentina, you create a new file and you say okay to all of this, and then you're ready to use the pattern. But how do you import the measurements file? Well, you click on the measurements and you set load individual, and then it brings up the list of individual measurements file here, and we're just going to click the one we just made, and now you're working with that. So it's very easy. Okay, I think that's it for now. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to create a standard measurements file. So I hope to see you then. Thanks for watching. Bye.